You ever keep a secret so long it rots your insides? That's how I lived for a decade. Keeping my mouth shut, pretending everything was okay, playing the black sheep while my sister wore white every chance she got. Literally now, she's getting married, and I'm about to ruin her life in front of 200 guests, a live violin quartet, and an open bar. But let me start at the beginning. My name's Jake, and I'm 26 now. I live alone, I work remote in IT, and I haven't spent a holiday with my family in over 6 years. That's not by accident. That's because 10 years ago, when I was 16, my sister framed me for a felony, and my mom helped her do it. Back then, we lived in a middle-class suburb, 2 parents, 1 perfect daughter, 1 invisible son. My sister Alicia was 18 at the time. Senior year, prom queen contender, straight teeth, perfect grades, boyfriend on the football team, yada yada. Everyone thought she was this shiny little angel with a heart of gold. But she was manipulative, sneaky, and knew how to fake vulnerability like it was a sport. Me? I kept my head down. I wasn't trouble, but I wasn't loud either. Quiet, good with computers, kinda awkward. Teachers liked me, but no one else really noticed I existed. That made it really easy for what happened to happen. Alicia had a habit of sneaking out. I knew because our rooms were next to each other. She thought she was slick, but I could always hear the creak of the window, the shuffle of her boots, the car engine idling down the street. One night she didn't come home until 5 a.m., and that's when everything fell apart. Around 7 a.m., cops showed up at our door. My mom looked like she was ready to faint. My dad was out of town for a work conference, which meant the only people home were me, Alicia, and my mom. The officers said they had video footage of a teenager stealing nearly $4,000 worth of designer purses from a boutique downtown. The thief had used a stolen credit card and left behind fingerprints. The fingerprints had been run, and they matched me. Except I'd never even been in that store in my life. I told them they had it wrong. There was no way. I was home all night. I showed them my computer, my activity logs, even messages I sent to a friend at 2 a.m. while gaming. But it didn't matter. The problem? Alicia had used gloves. She also happened to be in the store 2 days earlier, browsing, and had convinced the clueless shop owner to let her try on things while her friend took photos. Photos that, of course, had no evidence of theft. But the kicker was that I had touched her stupid leather gloves the week before when I helped her clean out her car. And that was enough to put my prints inside the stolen car they found abandoned 3 blocks away from the store. What I didn't know until much later was that Alicia had borrowed my old hoodie. She said she needed something basic to run an errand. She wore that hoodie during the theft. So let's add this up. Hoodie that belonged to me? Check. Fingerprints on the gloves inside the stolen vehicle? Check. 0 witnesses to my alibi because I was online? Check. I was dead in the water. They took me down to the station. My mom came with. Alicia cried when they cuffed me. Actual tears. Said, "Jake, why would you do this?" In front of the cops, I'll never forget that. The way she looked scared but not surprised. The way her voice wobbled just enough to seem convincing. They didn't officially arrest me, since I was a minor, but they opened a file. I was under investigation for felony theft, fraud, and unauthorized use of a credit card. Back at home, I begged my mom to believe me. She didn't even look at me. She said, "We'll get through this, but you have to own up to your mistakes." What mistake, Mom? Being born? I tried confronting Alicia the next night. She denied it, of course. Said maybe someone used my stuff, that it was suspicious but not her, that she was at her boyfriend's that night. Except guess who later told me she wasn't? Her boyfriend. He thought she was sick at home. Alicia had no real alibi, but she never needed one. A week later, my mom sat me down and told me something I will never forget. She said, "Jake, you're young. If this goes on your record, it won't ruin your life. But if Alicia gets charged, her future is over. College, scholarships, her entire life. You're smart. You'll bounce back. She won't." I stared at her like she'd grown horns. "You're asking me to take the fall?" I asked. She didn't even flinch. "You love your sister, don't you? Don't make this harder than it already is." I thought maybe this was some nightmare. Maybe I'd wake up. But no, this was real life. My mom wanted me to lie, to say I did it, to protect her favorite. And here's the part one hate admitting. I did. I didn't confess, but I stopped fighting. I let the court-appointed lawyer advise me to take a, quote, juvenile plea deal. I was charged with misdemeanor possession of stolen property instead of felony theft. No jail, but it meant community service and a sealed record. My friends at school didn't know, but word got around. One of the cops was related to someone at our school. People whispered, "Jake got caught stealing. Guess he's not as quiet as we thought." My GPA dropped. Teachers gave me side eyes. I lost interest in clubs. I dropped off the map. Meanwhile, Alicia got into her dream university, got a car for graduation, took a trip to Cabo with her sorority 2 years later. Her life? Untouched. I kept the secret. I swallowed it every single day, while she went on living like she'd never done anything wrong. Our relationship crumbled after that. I became cold, distant. I left home at 18 the second I could. Got into a tech program, worked part-time, got my own apartment. I stopped coming home for holidays. Mom barely texted. Alicia never did. Fast forward to now, I'm 26. Working for a remote cybersecurity firm. Doing well. No debt. Good apartment. Stable. I've built something of a life and left the past behind. Or at least I thought I had. Then, last month, I got a wedding invitation in the mail. Return address? Alicia Thompson and Michael Russo. Michael Russo. Her new fiancé. The guy who works in finance and comes from old money. They're getting married in a vineyard in upstate New York. Black tie event. Hundreds of guests. And the invitation had a handwritten note at the bottom. Jake, it would mean so much if you came. Let's leave the past in the past. Leave the past in the past? Like it didn't nearly destroy my life? I stared at that note for a long time. My hands were shaking. I don't know if it was anger or something worse. Then, 2 nights later, I got a call. From Alicia. She hadn't called me in years, not even a happy birthday text. And suddenly she wanted to talk. She started off sweet, said she missed me, said she hoped I was doing okay, that she wanted everyone together again, that family means everything on your wedding day. I asked her flat out, "Do you even feel bad about what happened?" She paused. Then she said, "Jake, it's complicated, we were kids. But I've moved on. I hope you can too." I hung up on her. But that night, I started digging. And what I found changed everything. The digging started simple. I just wanted closure. Proof I wasn't crazy for still being angry. But then I found things I wasn't prepared for. I started by searching my name in public databases, just to check if that old juvenile record was really sealed. It was. That part of my mom's pitch had been true. No one outside law enforcement could see it now. But what I found next made my stomach twist. I remembered Alicia's boyfriend back then, Kyle. After the incident, I vaguely recall overhearing my mom on the phone with his parents. Back then, it meant nothing to me. But now I was older, smarter, and had access to certain software, so I looked up Kyle. Guess what I found? 2 months after I took the fall, Kyle's father received a suspicious cash deposit into a shell LLC that had zero activity before or after that date. $4,000. Exactly the amount that was stolen. Coincidence? Maybe. But when I ran a reverse trace on that LLC's original IP setup history, a trick I'd learned working cybersecurity, I found the IP was registered under a temporary hotspot that matched the one Alicia used on her MacBook. I sat back in my chair, stunned. She'd paid Kyle's dad to help cover the theft. It wasn't just a mistake anymore. It was a full-on operation. And then something in me snapped. Alicia hadn't just let me take the fall. She made sure I would. And now, she wanted me to clap for her while she walked down the aisle in a Vera Wang dress, pretending she was some Disney princess. I wasn't going to let that happen. For years, I'd stayed quiet. Out of guilt. Out of shame. Out of a sick kind of fear that if I spoke up, no one would believe me. But not anymore. I decided I would go to the wedding. And I would not be coming empty-handed. But if I was going to take her down, I needed more than suspicious bank transfers and IP logs. I needed proof. Concrete, undeniable, visual, if possible. So I started with the only place where people overshare the truth. Social media. Alicia's Instagram was private, of course. But her best friend, Brianna? Wide open. She'd posted a Throwback Thursday photo of the girls in their senior year. One of them had a tag. Hashtag, the night wearin' wild. Curious, I dug further. That tag led me to a now dormant Tumblr blog. And that blog had a video link. It was dead, but I recognized the hosting platform. One of those, now defunct, third-party video sharing sites. I used a recovery plugin to check the old cached version. And there it was. Blurry. Grainy. But Unmistakable. Alicia. In my hoodie, walking out of the boutique's back door, holding 3 massive shopping bags, laughing into the camera. I hit pause. My breath caught. There it was. The smoking gun. 10 years late. But I wasn't done. I copied the video and uploaded it to an encrypted drive. I also extracted the metadata to verify the time and location. It lined up perfectly with the time I was supposedly committing the crime, and the final cherry on top? The person filming the video based on the voice was Brianna. So now I had a name. I tracked her down on LinkedIn. She was working in Boston as a brand consultant. I sent her an anonymous message through her website, pretending to be a college student doing a piece on teen rebellion culture. I asked for an interview. She accepted. During the call, I kept things light at first, asked about high school stories, dumb things they did for fun, wild nights. And wouldn't you know it, Brianna had a few glasses of wine before the call. I could hear the slur by minute 20. That's when I asked her about the boutique incident. She laughed. You mean the purse heist? She giggled. God, Alicia was insane back then. I still can't believe she pinned that on her brother. Boom. I kept her talking for 15 more minutes. She didn't just confess, she was there. She bragged about being Alicia's ride. Apparently, they ditched the bags in a locker at a bus station for a few days, before picking them up. I recorded the whole Zoom. Now I had the video, the audio, the motive, the alibi. All I needed now was an audience. And Alicia had already sent the invites. 2 weeks before the wedding, I called my mom. I hadn't spoken to her in over a year. She sounded surprised to hear my voice. Jake, she said cautiously, are you okay? Are you going to the wedding? I asked flatly. Of course, she replied. Alicia wants the whole family there. Did she ever tell you the truth? I asked. Silence. I don't know what you're talking about, she said stiffly. You know exactly what I'm talking about. She exhaled heavily. It's been 10 years. I thought we all agreed to move on. No. You agreed. I didn't. Jake, I did what I had to. She had a future ahead of her. So did I. She didn't respond. I said, I'll see you at the wedding, and I hung up. The wedding was set in a ridiculously fancy vineyard. I arrived early, dressed like everyone else. Black suit, shiny shoes, calm smile. But in my jacket pocket, I carried a flash drive. And in my coat lining, a tiny Bluetooth remote. The reception was in a tent, lit by fairy lights and strings of crystal. Everyone looked picture perfect. Alicia wore a custom dress. Michael, her groom, beamed beside her. They looked like they belonged in a magazine. Alicia spotted me during cocktail hour. She looked surprised. You came, she said with that fake soft smile I'd seen 1,000 times. I wouldn't miss it, I said. She hugged me. She even had the nerve to whisper, I'm really glad you're here. I smiled and said, you will be too, for now. Then came dinner. Then the speeches, best man, maid of honor. And then me. I'd like to say a few words, I told the DJ, who handed me the mic. Alicia blinked from her table, wine glass in hand. Michael smiled, clearly thinking I was about to share some wholesome brother-sister moment. Everyone turned to me. I cleared my throat. Hi, I'm Jake, Alicia's younger brother. Most of you probably don't know me well. That's because, for the last 10 years, I've been the family embarrassment. The troublemaker. The one who messed up. People started shifting uncomfortably. But tonight, I'd like to tell you a little story, I said. About a hoodie, a boutique, and a crime I didn't commit. Alicia's smile disappeared. Michael looked confused. And then, I pulled the remote from my pocket. The screen behind me, set up for the wedding slideshow, flickered to life. And the video started playing. Grainy footage, a figure in a hoodie, shopping bags, laughter, gasps. Then, audio. Brianna's voice. God, Alicia was insane back then. I still can't believe she pinned that on her brother. Silence. You could hear a pin drop. I turned back to the crowd. That was the night I got arrested. That was the night I lost my future. That was the night my own mother asked me to protect her golden child. I looked straight at my mom. She was pale, hands shaking, wine glass tipped slightly in her grip. I looked at Alicia. She was frozen, not blinking, jaw clenched. Then Michael stood up. "Alicia," he said slowly, "is this true?" Her mouth opened, closed. Then she burst into tears. "Jake," she whispered, "please, we can talk about this." I shook my head. "No more talking. Chaos doesn't explode. It creeps in slowly, then swallows the room whole." After the video ended, the room was so quiet, it felt like everyone had stopped breathing. The fairy lights flickered overhead, casting soft glows on horrified faces. All that romantic ambiance Alicia worked so hard to curate? Gone, replaced by the dull hum of a wedding unraveling in real time. Michael stared at her like she was a stranger. His hand, which had been resting on hers, now hovered mid-air, as if touching her might make him complicit. "You let your brother take the blame?" he said slowly, as if testing each word for poison. "At 16? Alicia's voice cracked. I didn't mean to. It just happened." I panicked. "And Mom said..." "Don't you drag me into this," my mother snapped suddenly. "Don't you dare." Everyone turned toward her. Her mask had slipped. The concern, the motherly smile, it vanished. In its place was a sharpness I remembered all too well. The one she usually saved for when she was alone with me. "You lied," I said to her quietly. "You let her destroy my reputation to protect your favorite child. Do you realize what you did to me?" "You turned out fine," she said instantly. "Too fast. Too defensive. You always had your little computers and your coding, and whatever it is you do, Alicia needed help." I laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was bitter, ugly. "You didn't raise 2 kids. You raised a princess and a scapegoat." Across the room, Alicia was still crying, but no one was comforting her, and that's when Michael stood up and announced, "The wedding is off." Gasps all around. Someone knocked over a wine glass. An older woman somewhere in the back actually clutched her pearls. Alicia screamed, "Michael, no, you don't understand!" But he was already walking out of the tent. And I followed him. Outside, under the string lights lining the gravel path, he stopped and turned to me. "Is all of that real?" he asked. "No exaggerations?" "I can send you the files," I said. "Every second of it, including the part where she paid off her ex's dad." Michael looked like someone had just told him his life was a lie. Maybe I had. "You did the right thing," he said after a long pause. "Too many people protect people like her. Pretend they don't see it. But you..." "I waited 10 years, I said. "I'm just done pretending." He nodded and walked toward the valet, and I turned back around to face the wreckage. Inside, the reception had officially entered its disaster phase. Half the guests were on their phones, whispering. The DJ had stopped the music entirely. My mom was arguing with my aunt, loudly. Alicia was sitting in a corner, crumpled, her makeup running down her face in streaks. A bridesmaid was trying to get her to drink water while Alicia just repeated, "He left me, over and over like a broken record. And then, because I'm apparently the main character in a very twisted soap opera, my grandfather walked up to me. He'd always been quiet, old-fashioned, rarely talked to anyone unless it was necessary. I hadn't seen him in years. "You were always the one who paid attention," he said. "Even when nobody else did." I blinked. "Grandpa," he nodded. I knew something was off, but no one wanted to listen. I didn't know what to say. I hadn't expected support, especially not from him. Then he did something I'll never forget. He put a hand on my shoulder and said, "I'm proud of you." It was the first time I'd ever heard those words from a family member, and that's when I realized something deep and simple. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. That night, I checked into my hotel, took off the jacket that held the remote, and let myself finally breathe. My phone was blowing up. Texts from cousins I hadn't heard from in years, messages of support, even apologies. A few guests had already started uploading clips of the video online. I wasn't the one who leaked it, but I didn't stop it either. By the morning, Wedding Expose had made it to Reddit. Someone recognized Alicia. A TikTok user posted a side-by-side comparison of her boutique robbery outfit and one of her graduation photos. The comments were brutal. The video hit 500K views in 24 hours, By Monday, Alicia deleted all her social media. And my mom? She tried calling me. I let it go to voicemail. Then she tried texting. You ruined her life. You had no right. Family doesn't do this to each other. Funny, Mom. That's what I thought 10 years ago. So I replied with one text only. You had 10 years to apologize. You chose silence. Blocked. A week later, I received a certified letter in the mail. It was from Alicia's lawyer. Apparently she was exploring legal action for defamation and emotional distress. I laughed again. But this time I emailed back. I attached the audio, the video, the bank records, and the Zoom interview with Brianna. I included a legal summary from my own attorney stating the evidence was not only authentic but exculpatory, and my release of it at the wedding was fully within my rights as the falsely accused. They never responded again. I guess even Alicia realized when a lie finally stops working. I thought that would be the end of it. But life has a way of surprising you. 2 weeks after the wedding, I got a letter. Not an email. A handwritten letter in a plain envelope. No return address. It was from my dad. He and my mom had divorced quietly a few years back. He'd moved to Arizona and didn't really keep in touch. I assumed he was just as disinterested in me as she was. But the letter? It was 5 pages long. He told me he had no idea what had really happened back then. That Mom had always said it was a teenage mistake, and that I needed to learn consequences. He said he believed her. That he regretted not digging deeper. That seeing the video shook him to his core. But then came the real shocker. I've watched that video 5 times now, not because I enjoy it, but because it finally showed me something I didn't want to admit. That I failed you. He ended the letter by asking if he could see me sometime. Just to talk. I haven't answered yet. But I'm thinking about it. Because I think I finally understand something. Justice isn't about revenge, it's about being seen. For the first time in a decade, I wasn't just the brother of the bride. The family scapegoat. The quiet one in the corner. I was the truth. 3 weeks after the wedding. The dust still hadn't settled. I thought it might. I figured Alicia would go offline, my mother would cool off, and the rest of the family would slip back into their comfortable roles of don't ask, don't question. But the truth has a weird kind of gravity. It doesn't just land, it drags everything else with it. I started getting calls from people I barely remembered. My cousin Amanda, who I hadn't spoken to since we were kids, sent me a voice message crying and thanking me. She said she used to think I was weird growing up, but now she saw I'd just been isolated, made into a shadow while Alicia soaked up every beam of light. Even a couple of my high school teachers reached out on Facebook. One of them said, I wish I'd asked more questions back then. I'm sorry I didn't fight harder for you. That part hurt a little, not because they said it, but because I realized how badly I needed to hear it, and how no one had said it until now. Meanwhile, Alicia disappeared. Not just from social media, but from her job, her apartment, even her own circle. Her ex-fiancé Michael apparently told everyone he could about what happened. The wedding was called off officially, and the venue is reportedly suing her for breach of contract. Rumor has it she moved back in with my mom, poetic. The princess who once had a Pinterest board for my future mansion, now stuck in the same house where she let her brother take a criminal charge. As for my mother, radio silence. She hasn't tried calling again since I blocked her, but I know she's still stewing. A family friend texted me saying my mom called the whole incident a betrayal and an ambush. Classic. Even now, she doesn't see what she did wrong. She sees herself as the victim. Not the boy she shamed into silence. Not the teenager she told to take the fall for the greater good. Not the son who she let carry the weight of a crime to protect her daughter's college scholarship. No, she was betrayed. But here's the thing about people like her. They don't know how to live without control. And when you take that away, they either crumble or cling harder. Alicia, to her credit, didn't try to apologize again. She sent me a single message. Just one. And it read, "You ruined everything. I hope you're happy." I stared at it for a minute, and then deleted it. Because, yes, I was happy. Not the kind of happy where you jump for joy. The kind of happy that feels like air finally filling your lungs after holding your breath for 10 years. I wasn't vindictive. I didn't want to ruin her life. But I also wasn't going to let her keep ruining mine. That's the thing most people don't understand about justice. It doesn't mean revenge. It just means peace. And peace only comes when the truth finally has a voice. A month later, I finally called my dad. We met at a quiet diner just outside the city. One of those places with vinyl booths and coffee that tastes like melted plastic. He looked older than I remembered. Thinner, too. But his eyes, still sharp. He didn't waste time. "I read your story 5 times," he said. "Still wanted to meet me after that?" He chuckled sadly. It wasn't the story that shocked me, it was how long I let myself ignore it. We talked for hours. Not just about Alicia or Mom, but everything. My childhood. The way he always worked late. The way he left all the emotional heavy lifting to her. He admitted that he didn't know how bad things had gotten. That maybe he should have asked more questions when I stopped smiling around age 15. He apologized. Genuinely. No excuses. And that was the moment I realized how different that felt from the way my mom handled it. He wasn't asking for forgiveness, he was offering honesty. I could work with that. Before we left, he reached into his jacket and handed me a small box. Inside? An old USB drive. It looked dusty, worn. "I found this in a drawer," he said. "It's from that year. Your computer files. I thought maybe you'd want it." I took it home and plugged it in that night. Inside were dozens of text logs, screenshots, timestamps, everything I had tried to show the police. Records of chats from the night of the theft, proving I'd been online. Old code I'd been working on. Messages between me and a friend about the exact game we were playing at the time. If anyone had looked at it back then, even for 5 minutes, it would have proved I couldn't have been in the boutique. But no one had bothered. Not the cops. Not my mother. Not even the court-appointed lawyer. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not sad. Not angry. Just tired. Then I copied the files. Added them to the archive. The truth is a heavy thing, but I didn't need to carry it alone anymore. The next few months were quiet. I kept working, but something had changed. I felt lighter, more open. I started reaching out to old friends. Rebuilding connections I'd let slip away, because I never felt like I deserved them. One of them, Jamie, a girl from high school who always used to sit next to me in history class, invited me out for coffee. She remembered how everyone suddenly turned on me back then, and said she always thought something was off. One coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a movie. You get the idea. Life didn't magically fix itself. But it started again. And that's more than I ever thought possible. And now here's the part people always ask about when I tell this story online. Would I do it again? Would I blow up the wedding? Would I embarrass my sister in front of everyone? And here's my honest answer. Yes. But not for revenge. Not for spite. For the 16-year-old kid sitting in that interrogation room with trembling hands and no one in his corner. For the nights I cried into my pillow wondering what I'd done to deserve being treated like trash while Alicia was showered with love. For the moments I almost believed it was my fault. That maybe I was the screw-up. And most of all, for peace. Because peace doesn't come when you forget. It comes when you finally tell the truth out loud. One final twist. 6 months after the wedding incident, I got an email from a journalist. Apparently, someone from the wedding had shared the story with a friend who worked at a popular news blog. The journalist wanted to feature my story, anonymously at first, as part of a piece on family scapegoating and emotional abuse. I said yes. The story went viral, not just because of the drama, but because so many people saw themselves in it. Emails poured in, messages from strangers, people who had taken the fall for siblings, who had been gaslit by parents, who had lived their whole lives thinking they were the problem, only to realize much later that they were just the sacrifice. Some of them even said they were finally ready to speak up. That made it worth it. That's how healing begins. Not with rage, not with revenge, but with one person standing up and saying, "This happened. I'm not crazy, and I won't be silent anymore."